Egyptian President Abdel Fattah El Sisi has also been addressing leaders at the UN General Assembly. Sisi's speech focused on the Middle East peace process, calling on Palestine and Israel to coexist in safety and security.
My call to you is to stand behind your political leadership and support them and do not hesitate. I am addressing the Israeli public opinion. Do not hesitate. We roll with you for the success of this attempt. This opportunity might not repeat itself. My other call is to all peace-loving nations and all the Arab brotherly states to support this excellent endeavor, and to all the nations of the world to stand behind this attempt that, if successful, will change the face of history. I am addressing an American leadership, the American president. We have an opportunity to write a new page in humanity's history to achieve peace in this region.
Let's get you more perspective on the UN General Assembly now. I'm joined in our Nairobi studios by Dr. Adam Zolo, a political scientist at the University of Nairobi. Dr. Zolo, thank you very much for your time. So the UN Secretary General calling for calm and diplomacy, but in very sharp contrast, strong words from the US President. How concerned should we be over the situation between the US and the DPRK?
I think we should be quite concerned because this is not the first time that you are seeing a U.S. government being at variance with the United Nations. We all remember that in the U.S.-Iraq war, basically the UN did say that there were no weapons of mass destruction. But the Bush administration then said that from their own intelligence, they had evidence of the same. And they decided that we are a superpower, we are going in whether the UN agrees with us or not. And that's what they did. Basically what Donald Trump is saying is that we are a superpower, have come into office under an American nationalism per podium. And therefore, if the UN is not going to take care of North Korea, the US will. So we should be quite worried that we might be seeing a situation in which, again, we see a powerful state saying that we shall only agree with an international organization, even as big as the UN, if their interests are at par with our national interests.
And then coming to the continent, a very statesman-like speech from Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari, of course in contrast to Donald Trump's speech, but then concerns that he didn't really focus on Nigeria's problems. What's your take on that?
My take on that is that usually a country that is regarded as powerful, especially when we talk of Africa, when you talk of the southern part of Africa, it's South Africa. When you talk of the western part of Africa, it is Nigeria. And basically, Buhari has been out of the picture because of his illnesses. And we know that Nigeria itself, although a powerhouse in the western part of Africa, has its own internal challenges. And therefore, in order for it to kind of profess its power as an African powerhouse, it must portray itself as having no internal challenges and therefore be offering solutions at a global level. So I look at it from a perspective in which, because in his speech he did even say that the UN had played a part in the Sahel and Lake Chad, but at the same time he didn't say that the challenges of Boko Haram, which is basically a terrorist organization, is quite a concern for the international community, which the UN should be coming on board to help solve. But he must show that he's a powerhouse and that he can deal with it, although Nigeria has not been able to deal with it for more than 1.5 decades.
Indeed, and yet Trump's speech did set the tone for the UN General Assembly. And to most observers, they would say really Africa wasn't really making an appearance on the agenda. Is that a concern?
Well, it's a concern in the sense that if you look at the recent developments of the past 1 year, this idea of nationalism, we first saw it with Brexit, then we saw it with the Trump election, then we saw it where the France election, although the right wing did not win, but we saw them coming out strongly. And therefore, in the global arena, it will be about who has the political muscle and international muscle to push the agenda. And therefore, to that extent, if Africa doesn't rally together, because Africa, diverse countries, when they go in alone as individual countries, they might not have a lot of bargaining power. They have to go in there as a continent and speak with one voice. And as long as they don't do that, then you can say that they'll always be relegated to the sidelines.
Not a very good picture, really. Thank you very much, Dr. Adams Zolo, with us in studio.